I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
Oh, Brie Larson, wait until you get a load of me. So I was about to record my video on the hit masterpiece film Blockers starring John Cena.
Honey. Rachel. Those are your daughters.
And then I forgot that I hadn't even seen Captain Marvel yet. There have been so many dudes on YouTube making big buckaroos off of this movie, and I kind of feel inferior for not doing the same thing. So I kind of waited to see this movie for a very long time because when it came out, there was a big wave of, negativity or positivity on Twitter and YouTube, and I didn't really want to get caught up in it. I wanted to see the film on my own. I wanted to see the film and judge the film based on its own merits. I didn't want to be influenced by anyone's opinion, positively or negatively. So like a good person, I went to the cinemas and actually paid for a ticket to see Captain Marvel because I'm all about that legal life. And you know what? I was thoroughly impressed. I was impressed. I don't know about thoroughly, but I was impressed. Whether it was the actual filmmaking, the acting, the special effects, I thought Captain Marvel was a lot better than I was led to believe. But before we get to my perspective of the film, I want to take a look at some of the criticisms that other people like myself, white dudes, have had online on YouTube and whatnot. I really do need to specify this because YouTube is a bit of fucking chaos. I want to say that if you don't like this movie, I don't think you're a sexist. I don't think you hate women. I don't think you're a misogynist. I don't believe that. If you don't like this movie, that's okay. That's fine.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
If you go on YouTube and search the word Brie followed by Larson, not even like Brie Larson ugly or Brie Larson annoying or Brie Larson bad, you get bombarded with fucking video after video about how Brie Larson is an awful person and how she hates white men and how that's hypocritical because she's married to a white man and all that bullshit. And it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. Normally, I don't like to generalize because I don't believe in that, but I've seen like 3 of these videos and I think I get the gist of all of them. Basically, Brie Larson is a bad actress or a bad Captain Marvel because she doesn't smile, or she doesn't show emotion, or she doesn't have a character arc. And, it's also because she's a woman. Look, I'm sure there's reasons why people don't like this movie, and I'm sure there's genuine reasons why people don't like this movie. And that's obviously fine. I'm not going to call you a sexist or a monster because you gave Captain Marvel a 2 out of 5. I couldn't give less of a fuck. But a lot of the reviews, especially the ones here on YouTube, they tend to be a little sexist. Like there's this one video that just goes on in excruciatingly boring detail how she is a horrible character and how she's a boring lead. It's mind-numbing. The person in this video uses the scene in Captain Marvel in which Carol Danvers is basically outside a shop and some dude on a bike tells her to smile more. And then when the dude goes inside the shop to presumably harass some more women, Carol steals his bike and drives off. According to the person that made this video, that's not an appropriate thing to do? Or it portrays her as a bad role model for little girls. Like this fucking guy really cares what little girls think. To be honest, I don't really understand that one because Carol Danvers as a character, she wouldn't straight up hurt that person because I don't think that's her moral compass. But that guy was being a major jerk to her. So I don't think it's out of her character to steal his bike and then ride off with it because that's just her way of saying, look, fuck this guy. I'm not going to drop to his level and be an asshole to him. I'm just going to be smarter than him. Look, before people accuse me of being a Captain Marvel, SJW, woke warrior, whatever the fuck people like to comment these days, I just want to say that I don't think this movie is flawless. I don't think it's a 5 out of 5 cinematic masterpiece. I think there are plenty of problems in this film. Specifically, the fucking music. The music in this film is atrocious. The score is good. I think the score is fine. but the various artist tracks that play are pretty terrible. Whoever came up with the idea to use that song, like, I'm Just a Girl, during that fight scene should be blacklisted and never hired again, because that was one of the worst things. Oh my god, that was so stupid. Like, it's so mind-numbingly obvious. Like, what an obvious fucking music choice. Like, fuck off. Fuck off.
Let's put an end to this!
The whole hatred for Brie Larson's interpretation of Captain Marvel kind of reminds me of Henry Cavill's version of Superman, in the sense that just because the character isn't smiling or quipping every 5 minutes, it doesn't mean they're boring or unlikable. It just means they're going through a certain character arc. Specifically for Danvers, as this whole movie is about her rediscovering her humanity. So I'm fucking sorry that she's not smiling every 5 minutes. Oh, she lacks any character. She's fucking boring, man. And I disagree with that as well, because in like the first 10 minutes, we see her crack a joke.
You guys wouldn't happen to know how these things come off, would you? No? Fine.
Like, so obviously she does have that humanity. She's just being told by the Kree that she shouldn't show that humanity. She shouldn't show that freedom and emotion, because that's a threat to them.
Control it.
In this movie, Danvers is trying to prove something to Yon Rag, played by Jude Law, and the Supreme Intelligence. She's constantly wanting their approval. And by the end of the movie, she's like, I don't need your fucking approval.
I've been fighting with one arm tied behind my back. But what happens when I'm finally set free?
You know, I think the movie's message is pretty fucking sweet. It's like, you're not less of a person for showing some emotion. In fact, you're actually stronger than people that do not show emotion. There's this consistent criticism with women that, like, they're too emotional and that's why they can't get certain jobs. And this movie's like, no, showing emotion isn't a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And I thought that was really sweet. It was a very, very touching message to get across to the audience. We see this directly paralleled with the antagonist, you know, quote unquote, Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who, you know, despite being a green alien dude that can shapeshift, he's just a dad that wants to find a home for his family. I mean, when I heard that the Skrulls were going to be portrayed as good guys, I was like, this sucks. This is fucking stupid. The Skrulls are one of the most iconic villains in the Marvel catalog. Why would you make them good? But it works really well for the film. The movie portrays the Skrulls as immigrants and refugees, and the symbolism or the metaphor is, you know, it's a fucking Marvel movie, so it's very in your face and it's very obvious, but it works. I thought it worked really well. And to the people that are commenting like, oh, you know, the Skrulls are good now. It's like, no, they're not. The filmmakers are just saying that these Skrulls are good. There are good Skrulls and there are bad Skrulls. And in this film, we saw the good Skrulls. You know, there's a duality of man. You ever heard that saying? A duality of Skrull. How about that? I love my man Ben Mendelsohn, you know, seeing an Aussie in a big movie, it's nice. And especially when it's an Aussie who's as nice and generous as Ben Mendelsohn, who is just a true legend of Australian cinema. And it's, yeah, I'm very happy that he's in one of these gigantic Marvel films. You know, I really enjoyed the fact that he was just a guy trying to look for a home for his family. You know, he wasn't just some asshole that wanted to destroy the universe or some shit. In fact, when I saw the movie, it just made me reflect on the comics and think, like, actually, why the fuck are there no good Skrulls in the books? Like, it's a bit unrealistic that an entire fucking species would be evil. Like, that's really ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like a bad trip in there.
You know, with the way that some people, and again, I don't want to generalize, but there's a lot more men that hate this movie than there are women. I think that, you know, people really don't get the movie's message. You know, the way I've seen people respond to this film, I would have thought that the message is men suck, men are fucking horrible, men ruin everything, men should burn and die. You know, the way I've seen people respond, that's sort of what I thought the theme was. But the theme is actually the complete opposite of that. My interpretation of the movie led me to believe that the movie's theme or idea or message is don't control people, no matter what gender. You know, the Supreme Intelligence is a really interesting character in this film because they specifically mention at the start, the Supreme Intelligence looks completely different for every single character. And the only time we see the Supreme Intelligence, who is the main villain of the film, by the way, she's portrayed as a woman. So even then, even this weird belief that the film is anti-men, the main villain is a fucking woman. I don't understand how people don't put that together.
Yeah, it's like a bad trip in there.
If I'm being completely honest with you, the only way as a male that you could watch this film and be offended by its portrayal of men is if you're one of the assholes it portrays. If you emotionally control women or tell random women that they need to smile more or think of a woman less than you because she doesn't have a dick, then I'm sorry, but you're a fucking asshole. This movie shows the extremes of men and masculinity, yes, but at the same time it also breaks down those stereotypes with characters like Nick Fury and Talos. Fury, despite being a government agent, is a fucking softie. Like, the second Goose the cat shows up, we see this completely different side of Fury, and it's like, holy shit, that's how I would have responded to a cat. And then with Talos, he's just a dad. You know, like, he's not some fucking asshole, he just wants a home for his family.
Yeah, it's like a bad trip in there.
If you go onto the internet and search the most searched for Avengers on Pornhub, number 1 is Captain Marvel. Not by a little bit, but by a significant amount. So what I'm thinking here is, you know, you don't hate Captain Marvel. You just hate the fact that she's a woman that can make individual choices. Anyway, in the end, Captain Marvel doesn't have a problem with men, so much as the film has a problem with horrible people no matter their gender. And that's it.
And I knock on her door and I say, Carol! Carol, I gotta talk to you about Pepe. And when I open the door, what do I find? There's not a single goddamn desk in that office. There is no Carol in HR.